Going on YouTube, Cloverbuilds here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be recapping the European International Championships from this past weekend, the largest VGC event to date, almost 1,000 players. That's insane, right? So it goes to show you how far our game has come and grown. So now all of a sudden we're reaching these kinds of numbers, right? But it is an IC, right? So I can't say that I am actually surprised, even though I am very impressed by that almost 1,000 mark. So basically, it was a tournament where we saw Nils Dunlop prevail with this, instant P2 Among Us Ursaluna squad. Very interesting trick room idea, right? Which also still makes sense at the end of the day. Prevailing over Long Island, New York native Tim Edwards, running Raging Bull balance over here, more or less, right? So shout outs to Tim for a great run all in all. He did a fantastic job. So, hopefully we hope to see Tim back, and we will, right? So what we're going to do with the rest of the video is we're going to go over some of the usage data and just look at what kind of team compositions did relatively well, as we always like to do in these recap videos, and then make some predictions moving forward as we play towards Orlando, right? Disney is coming, okay? If you're going to Orlando, you still have something to play for in terms of CP, out of Regulation F, right? So even though we are pretty much preparing things for Regulation G and the single restricted, there is still something to play for heading into that Orlando regionals, right? Which is basically what you want to do. You want to use some of this data, right, to help you out with your team building and your prep as you head into that last Regulation F regional. All right, so let's take a look and let's go over the usage data. All right, oh, that picture's a little out of position there, but basically, this is day one usage here, so no surprises really, within the top 6. Incineroar, Fluttermane, and Raging Bolt, there's your top 3, okay? Again, Incineroar, the king of VGC, as we always like to say. Great at weakening your opponent, fake out, pressure, intimidate, parting shot, allows you to cycle in and out, and just weaken things, and allows your sweeping options to stay on the field and potentially sweep, right? And then Incineroar can enable a lot of your options. We already know that, right? Then you have stuff like Fluttermane and Raging Bolt, 2 very strong special attackers. Raging Bolt, stuff like Assault Vest or Calm Mind set, just to be able to sit there and click Snarl, or to be able to sit there and click Calm Mind, and then clicking these +1, +2 priority, Thunderclaps is also really, really strong. Then you have stuff like Landorus Incarnate, again, really, really good into the opposing Raging Bolt, also pretty decent into the opposing Ogerpons, right? And then speaking of Ogerpons, Wellspring over here, and even the Heartflame over here, getting, some good usage now. So Wellspring as expected, and then of course Rillaboom, and the Urshifu Rapid Strike, they're going to round things out over here. And then Farigiraf, again, Farigiraf and Tornadus will always be like good usage. Again, just denying priority moves all in all, and then being able to set up Trick Room is also really, really nice. And then Tornadus on the flip side gives you the starting point for a hyper offensive team and good strong offensive pressure with speed control and Tailwind support, right? So if you just look at how many priority mons we have here, right, or just in terms of fake out mons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, right? So 6 of the 12 have either a priority move, which involves fake out, or some kind of priority move all in all. So that's why you have good Farigiraf usage over here, right? It sometimes drops out of top 12, then it all of a sudden climbs back in, but still Farigiraf as of this point is still very, very solid. So if you wanted to build something, in terms of like a solid core, you build out your offensive options, then your defensive backbone, and then Farigiraf can come in and round out your last slot here and just be like a support mon, just to deny opposing priority stuff all in all, right? But then what about day 2 usage, right? Day 2 usage, things look a little bit different, so let's show you that. All right, Fluttermane actually dropping out of the top 6, not even just top 6, the top 3, right? So, again, for the longest time, like 32% is still like very, very good, but it's not like the 50+% or 40+% that we're used to seeing out of Fluttermane. So to see it drop out of the top 6 is quite interesting in and itself. Incineroar still remains to be, again, top usage. Of course, it's so good. Raging Bolt, same thing. Urshifu Rapid Strike climbing into the top 3. Okay, not only that, but also surpassing the Ogerpon Wellspring. But not even that, like Ogerpon Heartflame surpassing the Wellspring uses. Like again, 24% versus 23%, is barely a big difference. But the fact that the Heartflame has been able to overcome the Wellspring, because the Wellspring dropped out of the top 6, just goes to show you like how far that this mon has come, as the format has progressed. Among Us and Goldangle, those are really, really good support Pokemon, you know, just that can also exert offensive pressure. You set up your nasty plots, you click Make It Rain. You could either run Choice Specs, click Make It Rain, Nasty Plot, Metal Coat, Make It Rain, Sweep Things. Even if they're resistant, Goldango does so much damage. Also great into an opposing Amoonguss, right? Terra Fairy helps against, you know, the Urshifu dark stuff. So, you know, also pretty good into Dragonite Chenpao. So as expected there, right? And then over here, Single Strike, still now all of a sudden below, once again, the Rapid Strike. So again, we saw a period of time within the meta where Single Strike surpassed the Rapid Strike. But now at this point, towards the tail end of the format, Rapid Strike has climbed back into top usage, and Single Strike has dipped a little bit below, not even a little bit, like almost triple, 3 times below it, like 44% versus 16%, right? So, you know, 3 times that usage is very interesting to note, right? So, interesting turn of events in terms of, you know, usage rate, but it just goes to show you that Chenpao, Urshifu, along with Instant and Rillaboom, that's like your top 4 right there, right? If I had to build a team right now, you know, for like Regulation F heading into Orlando, I would just start like that, right? I would just do Incineroar. I would do Rillaboom, okay? Give me Rapid Strike, okay? And then from there, give me Chenpao. And then after that, you know, just round out your slots here with something like Raging Bolt. Yeah, like this. And then give me one other filler slot here. Give me like a Flutter Mane, or give me an Amoonguss, or give me a Landorus Incarnate. Anyway, that can be your last slot in terms of a team like this, right? And it's going to do relatively well because you have a lot of different ways to play against a lot of different matchups depending on how you position your mons. But you can get that positioning, right? Because you have, you know, double fake outs and you have double pivot options, right? So that's what you have going for you, all right? So now let's take a look at some of the archetypes. Let's take a look at some of the teams, especially top 8 results that did well at the EUIC. All right, we're back over here using the LabMouse website to give us all the data that we're looking for in terms of usage rate, team compositions, and of course, looking at the open team sheets from all these teams, right? So let's take a look at Nils' team over here. So Nils was running an Ursaluna team, but not Cresselia Ursaluna, but he was actually running Porygon Ursaluna. And of course, you have this defensive backbone with Incineroar and Amoonguss, right? So Incin, Amoonguss, Trick Room Setter, and Ursaluna, that's the formula he was going with. And then he has this fast mode with Flutter Mane and Urshifu. And that's kind of the way you can consider this if you were to go into Regulation G, right? Because look at what we did with Calyrex for Regulation G, right? Let me just take away all of this and let me just put something over here real quick, right? Just to show you how some of this stuff can transfer over into the new format, right? You have Ursh, Porygon, Ursaluna, Amoonguss, Instant, Flutter Mane. All you can really do is just take out Ursaluna and then just put Calyrex here like we did in our team building video. Where's that here, right? So Calyrex, right? Instant, Amoonguss, of course. And then after that, you have your Trick Room Setter and Porygon. This was the core. Then your quote-unquote fast mode with Urshifu and Flutter Mane, right? And that's pretty much what people are going to be doing in Regulation G. But more of that in another video, right? Which we've already done on this. But back to Nils' team over here. So basically the unique thing, it was the Terra Flying Porygon, right? And Terra Flying Porygon can do a lot of different things versus the Poison one. So he's saying, look, I've got Earthquake on my Ursaluna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up Trick Room. And then I'm going to Terra my Porygon, Terra Flying. And then I'm going to Earthquake next to it. Which is actually very, very smart, you know, team building wise, right? With Ursaluna and Porygon. Because now, not only that, you also have still the fighting resistance because you have Terra Flying, and then you're able to KO them back with super effective damage because Terra Blast, Terra Flying is great against fighting types. So stuff like Urshifu is going to suffer at the hands of Terra Flying. Stuff like Amoonguss is going to suffer. Stuff like Ogerpons are going to suffer, right? So Terra Flying is actually pretty smart on the Porygon in this case as of this moment, right? So I really like that from Nils, so shout outs to him for doing that. Of course, you have the standard Ice Beam coverage move against stuff like Landorus, right? Other flying types in general. And then over here, and it's just pretty standard after that, you know, you have Instant, Amoonguss, Urshifu, Choice Scarf, of course, Flutter Mane booster with Substitute. This is something that we liked and used, you know, in previous formats, you know, whether it be like Regulation D, for example, we use a lot of Substitute Flutter Mane, you know, just to stall out potential versus, you know, other Trick Room or Tailwind turns. And then Amoonguss, again, with Terra Ghost here, that's pretty interesting, right? And then here's the Sludge Bomb. Good solid poison damage into the Ogerpons all in all in itself, right? So shout outs to Nils here. Pretty cool Ursaluna team. Then if we go into Tim Edwards' team, right? Mr. Long Island native, right? He basically has a form of Raging Bolt balance, right? So he's got Incin, Urshifu, and Rillaboom, and then you have Calm Mind Raging Bolt. That's the way to do it, right? Because think about the Volcarona idea where you had double fake out, set up Volcarona. Now what you're saying is we can do that with Raging Bolt too. We can get Calm Mind Raging Bolt going, right? And this is pretty much the same kind of idea that you can use with Terrapagos, right? So Terrapagos uses Rillaboom, Incineroar, and Raging Bolt, and then you had Comfey there, right? So you can enable and set up the Calm Mind boost because you have double fake out pressure, right? So you're pretty much trying to set up the Raging Bolt here, and then you have Flutter Mane and Urshifu again over here, but this is Icy Wind and Taunt Flutter Mane, so a little bit more speed control with the Flutter Mane over here, and then Taunt, of course, to deny potential setup and Trick Room stuff, and then Urshifu is actually Sash here, which is pretty cool, right? So, you know, that gives you a get out of jail for free button, right? Because you have this Focus Sash, and then here's the Ogerpon Heart Flame, right? So now this is going to do more damage with Wood Hammer because you have Grassy Trade over here, and you're going to do a lot more damage with, you know, of course, Ivy Cudgel here, and you don't have Redirection here, but instead opting for this ground move of Stomping Tantrum, this is going to be good against, you know, other Steel types and other Fire types all in all, because, you know, your own Fire and Grass type move is not going to do much damage against another Fire type like Incineroar. So the fact that you can use Stomping Tantrum against that, and also you can't use your Fire and Grass move against something like Raging Bolt, so it's just going to wall you. So now you add this ground move here, and now you have something to hit Raging Bolt with, right? And this is something that's not new. This was used, you know, in previous months, you know, back in like even February and January. So this is nothing new. So good job on Tim Edwards bringing back this set, right? So, and not that it went away, but yeah. And of course, this is just pretty standard Assault Vest Rillaboom. But yeah, it's a really, really good, standard, solid Raging Bull team. If I had to go into Orlando with the team, I would probably just bring this, right? It gives you so many different lines into a lot of different things, and it teaches you and rewards you with good play, you know, with position stuff, you know, with Parting Shot and Fake Out Pressure and being able to set up Calm Minds. So you got a lot of things going for you there. So shout outs to Tim for coming up with a really, really cool team. Rory Moon still continues to be a solid mod to use, right? The archetype itself with balance things with Incin and Mungus continues to be the four-way, right? So let's look at a couple of these, right? Yorin Rhymakers over here at third place, 14-3, strong result. But basically back to Terra Poison Porygon over here with Ice Beam, of course. But this is the Acrobatics Dragon Dance set, of course, with Terra Flying. So it's going to do a lot of damage, right? And you have a lot of ways to set it up with Fake Out, Incineroar, and of course, Mungus. There's your defensive backbone. Then you've got, again, Choice Specs Goldango, really, really good with Roaring Moon as well. You know, great against the fairy stuff, which is something that Roaring Moon struggles against, as well as the ice type coverage. And then Landers over here with Substitute, again, you know, just able to click that move and then just sit in front of other options and click Earth Power and Sludge Bomb. Really, really solid, right? So I like this archetype in and itself. So, you know, it's just another solid, consistent way to play Roaring Moon. You've got Intimidate, you've got Fake Out, Redirection, Speed Control with Trick Room. You have damage increase with, you know, with Dragon Dance, and then Goldango with Choice Specs. Trick is also really, really solid, right? But how else can I play it, right? So if we just look at some of these other options here, you know, just like, you know, with Iron Hands not getting as much usage as it once did, it's still like a good solid mod. So now you've got double Fake Out and double Redirection here, and that's going to really help you set up this Dragon Dance stuff, right? So from Emmanuel, right? And then this is Choice Specs, Parasong Flood, I mean, the set that we like, of course. So that's another way to run it. And then if you scroll down a little bit, then you have the screens Okie Dokie stuff, right? So even though Jack Clark with 6'3" didn't quite make day 2, I still think this archetype is still really, really solid, right? Again, still with the Goldango over here, but then you have Okie Dokie and Ogerpon Wellspring over here. So Okie Dokie, again, with Guard Dog, really good against opposing Incineroar. And then you have the screens Grimmsnarl stuff. And then you have a lot of pressure here with Entei, you know, with the Choice Band over here. So this is still, like, pretty good. But all in all, like, if you just have this Incineroar Amoonguss core with, you know, with Roaring Moon and something like Porygon 2, for example, I still think that's going to be, like, really, really solid as we go forward, right? Then this one's also another Okie Dokie team. This one is with Indeedee Hatterene, right, which is interesting in itself. But, you know, you set up Trick Room, then the Ursaluna comes in and then starts clicking Silk Scarf Hyper Voice. So that's pretty cool. And then still you get the Okie Dokie idea with Roaring Moon in itself, right? So that's also pretty solid. But all in all, I really think Roaring Moon is just another solid archetype to play, you know, heading into Orlando. So if it's something that you're considering, definitely give it a shot. Santum Ting-Lu with Yon Dondozo is still a very strong duo, along with the Dragonite Chenpao stuff. But what really separates it is actually the Dragonite set, right? So there's a few that you can definitely use. So if we look at this one from Davide 7th place over here, this is actually a really smart set with Dragonite. It's loaded dice with Scale Shot, right? So basically you're going to get all your hits with Scale Shot, and then from there, you're going to get a +1 speed boost, which is great because now you can start sweeping all in all. And then from here, you still get the Chenpao boost. You still get the Howl boost from Gouging Fire. So Dragonite is still looking really, really strong here. And now all of a sudden, you don't have to necessarily click a priority move. You can just go with these Iron Heads or these other Scale Shots or even these powerful extreme speeds, right? And then, like I said, you still have Dondozo clicking Yawn and Santum Ting-Lu, Ruination and Body Press. So basically, Intimidate's not really going to affect this Ting-Lu at all, right? Because you're just chipping things with Santum and Ruination, and then Body Press doesn't really care about that. And then, of course, it's Goldango Choice Specs, and then Chenpao over here, very standard Focus Sash set. But what really sells it is this pretty creative Dragonite set here. I like this a lot. I wish I could play this. So hopefully maybe they may release the team, but who knows. Then if we go down here, if we look at Juan Salerno's team, so the Dragonite here is Choice Band, right? Very standard set with the Focus Sash Chenpao here. And now this is Corviknight as opposed to the Goldango. So now imagine this with Gouging Fire Corviknight. You're clicking Howl and you're clicking Bulk Up. So basically +2 attack and then +1 defense. And then you add the fact that Ting-Lu can reduce special attack damage. Now all of a sudden the Corviknight becomes very hard to remove. And you still get the Yawn stuff along with the Sandstorm with the Ting-Lu. But then you add Fissure Dondozo, which can help you, get out of a lot of different situations, right? We gave a Fissure Ting-Lu to our coachee, Philip Cohen, and he was able to get, top 200 place in the Global Challenge, 40 CP out of that. Because Ting-Lu Fissure was able to bail him out a couple times. So yeah, we featured that team earlier on our channel. But then as we scroll down, right, Megan Rattler over here. So this is AVD Knight with Chenpao. So again, more flexibility out of that slot. Citrus Berry Dondozo, no Fissure. It's just Wave Crash, Heavy Slam, and Yawn, of course. And then standard Gouging Fire, standard Goldango Medical with Nasty Plot, and the Ting-Lu, again, Santum Ruination. And it's also Taunt Ting-Lu, so that's also pretty cool. But all in all, the archetype itself is very, very solid. You can choose any of the 6, right? Your steel slot may alternate between Corviknight and Goldango over here, or maybe you can even choose this one with Ogerpon. So let's look at this one from Pablo. So this 6 slot is actually very, very flexible depending on how you want to use it. But this is Defiant Ogerpon here. So this is actually Stealth Rock Ting-Lu and Santum, along with Ruination and Taunt. And then, of course, this is still Yawn Dondozo. So you get punished with the Stealth Rocks, even if you do switch out and you don't click Santum. And then, of course, the Yawn pressure is right there with it. And then at the same time, if you want to intimidate the Gouging Fire and the Chenpao, or, then the Defiant Ogerpon can just simply activate all in all. And then click Swords Dance over here. It's actually really, really nice. So you have that going for you. Okay, what about this one from Rich Johnson over here? It looks like another Corviknight set. Yeah, it's pretty much, and again, it's Choice Banded Dragonite over here. So lots of different ways you could use that 6th slot. It really just depends on how you want to play it. So I think Corviknight and Goldango are your best options. And then from there, pick one and then just, choose it and test it and use it as you will. Archaludon archetype with Pelipper Rain is still very, very good, but people have started to innovate a little bit. So let's take a look at how they have shown a little bit of variance with the idea. But basically, here's the standard one, right? You have Pelipper, Archaludon with Urshifu, Incineroar, Amoonguss, Fire Water, Grass Core, and then Landorus is your other secondary Rain Abuser with Sandsear Storm, right? So, Terra Buck is really good against Landorus Incarnate, very standard Assault Vest set. Incineroar Will-O-Wisp has been picking up as of late, towards the end of Regulation F and heading into Regulation G. Pelipper with Wide Guard and Hurricane along with Weather Ball is really good because Weather Ball now gives you something to click against Sun teams, so that's really nice. And then Choice Scarf Urshifu Rapid Strike with Ice Spinner is really good in blowing up terrain from, something like Psy Spam stuff, and then of course Rillaboom. And then Amoonguss, of course, gives you something to click into Tricker, right? This is actually relatively standard. Sometimes you'll see Back Scalper come onto teams like this. Speaking of Back Scalper, that's what we have over here in team number 5, from Mika, right? So Back Scalper with Clear Amulet, along with Pelipper, Amoonguss, Fluttermane, Urshifu. This is something that we put out as a rental back in February. Really, really strong team. Still even good right now. But then people started to innovate a little bit and actually put Archaludon in Trick Room, right? So let's look at this one over here in 11th place, 12-3 record. Cresselia Archaludon here with Trick Room, which makes sense with Amoonguss all in all. And then this is actually Life Orb Chien-Pao, and still here the Choice Scarf Urshifu here. So, you know, you don't get Tailwind here from the Pelipper, right? You still get the rain support for Archaludon along with Urshifu Rapid Strike. And then, of course, Chien-Pao helps them do more damage, right? But this is Life Orb Chien-Pao, you know, so unlike Focus S, this Chien-Pao is going to do a lot more damage, so that's pretty cool. But now, all of a sudden, we're going to play Archaludon, you know, in a Trick Room format where we can sacrifice some of its speed and just put more bulk, but otherwise it's a standard AV set with Tera Fairy, right? So this is one way to consider. But then we have another one down here with Indeedee Hatterene, right? So another Trick Room mode here with the side spam stuff, but then you have Archaludon with Chiyu here, right? And this is Iron Ball Chiyu. So this is actually a really, really cool Trick Room team that also focuses on Pelipper Rain stuff. But this also has Tailwind. So you have Tailwind and Trick Room here. So this is a pretty innovative Archaludon team, right? And then, of course, it's Terra Steel, Urshifu Rapid Strike. Again, this is always like a mainstay in these rain teams. It's just going to do more damage. And this is, again, Tera Fairy, Assault Vest, Archaludon, right? So I keep alternating between Archaludon and Archaludon. It just really depends on the type of sentence I'm saying. But all in all, I feel like they're both correct. So go ahead and at me in the comments if you want to argue or if you want to correct me here. But this is also Calm Mind Hatterene here. So this is actually a really, really innovative team here. So I like this a lot. If they release the rental, I may try this, with the remaining time that we have in Regulation F, because it seems pretty cool, right? Then over here, then you have Whimsicott over here. I want to say this is beat up, and it is not beat up. So instead, we just have Tailwind along with Light Screen, Encore, and Moonblast. Okay, you still have Archaludon over here with Snarl and Breaking Strike. This is actually more of a support Archaludon set. Okay, and then you have Arcanine, Hisuian Arcanine here, along with Ogerpon Wellspring. So Fire, Water, Grass Core here, and then the Fluttermane and Urshifu is also just matchup specific here with Taunt Fluttermane as well. So this is actually a pretty cool team. So from Yinsin, so that's actually really, really nice. Again, more innovative with the Archaludon archetype. Then over here we have Scizor here at 6-3. This is actually a pretty cool team. I want to click this for a second here. So it's actually Life Orb Scizor, right? Along with Pelipper. Scizor has always been good on these rain teams because the 4x weakness to fire is mitigated a little bit because now you're in the rain. And then you have Amoonguss to help you support that. So this is just Scizor clicking stuff. That's really, really cool. And then, of course, again, the Assault Vest Archaludon is going to be really, really nice. So it's nice to see some adaptations to the archetype, and they've all done relatively well. What about the Articuno team from Nick, right? So basically, it was another one of those archetypes where like, okay, this is actually annoying to play against, but how would it fare in the future regionals? So here we go, EUIC, one top cut here, 9-6 record from Daniel. I believe this is more or less the same team, right? It's the Choice Specs Articuno team. So Raging Bolt Snarl stuff. So that's actually pretty cool. But then after that, not so much else. Couple 6-3 results here, right? This is actually, Trick Room Articuno with Cresselia Ursaluna. So that's another way of trying to consider playing with it, right? Just go behind screens and hope the Ursaluna can sweep. This one over here, this one is, again, Ninetales Articuno, with Dondozo, Glamora stuff. So this is almost like 2-2-2 Dozo, but not really, right? So this is actually another way to consider playing it. And again, this one also right here, 6-3 results. So, not terrible, but all in all, didn't present great results. Clefairy had a couple of good results here from Arash, former world champion, of course, Stefan here, right? We call him Pengi. So let's take a look at Arash's team here. But basically, remember what Clefairy gives you. It gives you something called Friend Guard. Very, very good damage mitigation along with Follow Me support, right? And then, of course, the ever so devilish Sing, right, to put things to sleep. But other than that, it looks like it's pretty much standard Raging Bolt balance with Urshifu Rillaboom along with Chien-Pao over here. And instead of Instant, we have Ogerpon Hard Flame here, right? But the idea with, Clefairy here is that you're able to, just protect your offensive options while they just kind of sweep, okay? Which is pretty cool in itself, right? Clefairy really good against the opposing Urshifu single strike stuff. It just kind of walls it, which is really, really nice. But, that's one way to consider it. And then over here from Pengi, he decided to do, again, also the Sing shenanigans with Follow Me. Moonblast, right? And then that's going to help set up the Goldango here with the nasty plot. So basically, again, what's really good against Goldango, the Wicked Blow stuff. But then you just redirect that, into the Clefairy, and it just really doesn't do that much damage all in all, right? You can also do that with Ogerpon. Wellspring over here, this is actually Swords Dance Ogerpon, right? Because the main drawback a little bit with Ogerpon is that, yes, it's supportive. Yes, it's bulky, but it doesn't put out the damage as much as the Fire Ogerpon, right? But you can take care of that with Swords Dance, and you can enable that, by clicking Follow Me Clefairy, or just adding even more bulk to the Wellspring by just, clicking, not clicking, but, adding the Friend Guard over here, right? So that's really good. Then substitute Landorus along with Tornadus. That's pretty standard here. And then Rain Dance is pretty good. That's going to help reduce fire damage against the Goldango. Going to give you some control against some of the Sun teams that you might run into. And then Incineroar is just Incineroar, right? Just an overall good balance king of VGC mon that you can slap onto any team to round out that last slot over here, right? It gives you a Fire, Water, Grass core all in all. So, decent results here. So maybe we'll see a little bit more moving forward, but I don't know. But, nice niche option there from both of those players. The traditional Gouging Fire team actually did okay. A lot of 6-3 results, all around, which is actually really, really good. Which means it's still a consistent archetype to build around, especially with Ogerpon, Wellspring, and King Gambit, right? But it's funny enough, because all of the King Gambit variants, they were all 6-3, and all the ones into day 2 were the non-King Gambit teams. They were the ones that were running the Dragonite, Chenpao, Dondozo stuff, okay? So all of those were able to go into day 2, whereas all the standard traditional ones with, King Gambit, Ogerpon, and then, Fluttermane, Raging Bolt stuff, those were all 6-3. So that was actually interesting to point out. So it just goes to show you that maybe this type of archetype, while it's still good, maybe it has been surpassed by this new Dondozo Chenpao variant along with Ting-Lu. So if I had to pick between the two, I would probably just go the Ting-Lu route. It's a little bit slower, right? A little bit more positional based, but Sand Tomb and Yawn is just too good. So, moving forward, maybe that's the way to go about it with Gouging Fire. Alex Gomez had a pretty cool adaptation with the Raging Bolt balance idea. So if we just take a look at it, so basically he's saying this, right? I'm still going to go for the Calm Mind stuff with the double fake out stuff with Incineroar Rillaboom, but I'm going to put booster energy on this thing. So now all of a sudden, I don't have leftovers, but at the end of the day, I'm getting more damage out of this, especially if I can go for the plus special attack boost, right? Terra Fire Urshifu, right? And this is a little bit different than like Choice Scarf. So you're getting Mystic Water damage, which is really, really good. And then the Terra Fire stuff is actually pretty good against Fluttermane stuff. And then that also helps against the grass stuff that might be coming in, like something like, Woodhammer Rillaboom, Grassy Glide Rillaboom, or, the Horn Leech from another Ogerpon. So Terra Fire is actually really, really smart here. And then instead of Focus Sash Chenpao, it's actually a Clear Amulet. So this is really good against Incineroar because now you can just Sacred Sword it and not have to worry about the Intimidate drops. And then from here, the Terra Fire is also really good against the Steel weakness. It's also really good against the Fairy weakness. And then because you're not Focus Sash here, I would imagine this EV spread might be a little bit bulkier, might be a little bit slower. So, you'll have to wait. I'm not sure. But Goldango here, as opposed to something like Fluttermane or Landorus, pretty good synergy with Raging Bolt all in all, because again, what you can do is, with this Terra Fairy option and even with Raging Bolt being a dragon type, again, fulfilling this Dragon Fairy Steel Core is the main idea, because again, one way to really beat Raging Bolt, when you're Terra Fairy, is to click a Steel move into it, and Goldango gives you that pressure, right, with that Make It Rain Steel coverage, so that's the idea there. And then, of course, Incineroar. Shuka Berry was the berry that was used a little bit more back in Sword and Shield. And I wonder if this will be a little bit more common now that we have Groudon coming back in Regulation G, right? I said it might make a comeback, and it looks like it's already started. So we'll wait to see if there will be more Shuka Berry, against the Groudon stuff, especially even like Calyrex, clicking high horsepower, which is why they may have started to opt for something like Close Combat Calyrex. So we'll see what happens there. But again, this is another way of adapting the Raging Bolt balance archetype. So shout outs to Alex Gomez over here. The Iron Crown size spam stuff, not so great. A couple 6-3 results here and there. And then there's one in day 2 here. But this is the Regidrago variant, which I guess is expected, right? So, a lot of offense, with Dragon Energy Tailwind stuff. And then the Urshifu Rapid Strike, you know, gets a lot of good usage in the rain. And then, of course, we already know what we're getting with Iron Crown and DD stuff, right? Then you add Ogerpon Heart Flame over here, which is interesting to see, you know, on Rain Dance Tornadus, right? But all in all, it's still pretty good, you know, just in terms of pressure from the Regidrago clicking Dragon Energy and then this thing clicking Expanding Force. So, you know, couple of modes here that you can do. You can also click Trick Room against the mirror matchup where you can just, you know, say your Tailwind is now invalidated because I clicked Trick Room, right? So you have that going for you. But all in all, the Iron Crown archetype has fallen off Torrents a little bit, you know, at the end of Regulation F. So, you know, if you're planning to go to Orlando, I don't think I would use it. But if it does give you a sense of peace of mind, right, you can still do well with it, right? Because 6-3 is still pretty good, but it has fallen behind some of the other archetypes for sure as of this moment. The Furrygraph Blood Moon Ursaluna archetype has pretty much adapted and committed to adding Tornadus onto their teams because now you have two forms of speed control. You have the Tailwind route and you have the Trick Room route, right? So, for example, we've already covered I think, did we cover this team? I think we did. Indeedee, Hatterene, Roaring Moon here with Tailwind, and then, of course, here's the Trick Room idea, right? And here's Blood. Oh, yeah, we did. This is the Silk Scarf one, right? Then over here, this is the older version, right, with Clear Amulet, Close Combat, Iron Hands over here, and then here's the Tailwind Tornadus idea, right? But again, you have the Trick Room route, and then you have the Tailwind route, especially with Tornadus Urshifu stuff. So this is pretty cool, and then Iron Hands is always going to be good with Furrygraph and Blood Moon Ursaluna, so that's really nice. And then moving down, that's pretty much the same team, right? And then over here, you get something that's a little bit interesting, right? The Sturdy Graveler, someone has been a guest on our channel before, now you get Clefable over here, and then you add Bronzong. Bronzong is always going to be a good Pokemon, right? With the Iron Defense Body Press stuff, Landers can't touch it, right? So that's always something you have to keep in mind. Landers Incarnate can't touch this mon, okay? And then you still have the Blood Moon route, but again, this is not the Trick Room way because now you add Iron Bundle, which is actually pretty interesting, and then Tyranitar, right? A lot of niche Pokemon are on this team, and if I had to play this, I wouldn't really know what to bring, more or less, because it's so different than what you normally might expect. So this is actually a creative team building here from the Sturdy Graveler, aka Steiner, right? You're able to set up Trick Room here. The Blood Moon Ursaluna is just going to sweep you here, and then you can go for this endgame option by just setting up Iron Defense Body Press stuff. The Clefable here with Unaware is really, really nice. Okay, Moonblast helping, and we featured Clefable on the channel before. Then all of a sudden, now you also add Ogerpon Heart Flame. Again, Swords Dance, so double setup here, and then the Iron Bundle, again, gives you this Fire, Water, Grass core, you know, with Icy Wind and Encore as well. And then, of course, Tyranitar just gives you Weather Control, and it's another good Dark type to have on the team. So this is pretty interesting, and it's a unique way to really use Blood Moon Ursaluna, and of course, Bronzong is always going to be a good, solid Pokemon. But it's pretty much just committed that, you know, the Tailwind Blood Moon route is the way to go at the very moment. But not to say that the balance stuff doesn't work, because if I were to show you that, Justin Burns over here, 6-3 result, this stuff is still going to work, right? Incineroar, Ogerpon, Railspring, Fire, Water, Grass core, and then Dragon, right? Raging Bolt, along with, you know, probably a slow Raging Bolt, you know, with Furrygraph Blood Moon, and then Fluttermane here, the Choice Specs route is just going to round the team out. This is still going to work, right? I think it's interesting to have Clear Amulet Incineroar, right? That's also pretty a little bit out there, but it does work, right? It beats the mirror basically, right? So this stuff will still work, right? But again, right now the Tailwind Blood Moon route is the way to go. All right, we're going to end it here. So again, just like leading into Orlando, and you know, the biggest takeaways here is you can make a lot of adjustments to Raging Bolt balance because you have a lot of flexible options. But then what really sets your Raging Bolt balance team apart is how do you make adjustments and how do you make tech choices to what is otherwise a standard 6, right? And that's what you're going to have to do if you want to really separate yourself amongst the pack. And then other archetypes, like we talked about, are still going to be very solid, like the Ting-Lu Dragonite stuff. You know, now maybe the new Scale Shot set is going to, you know, take over. Who knows? Archaludon's still really good. Trick Room stuff is still pretty good. Basically, you know, lots of things that have been good already are still good even now. It just all depends on how you want to pilot it and how you want to adapt it and update it a little bit more. So this way, you know, for where it was good in February, for example, or even March, is now better in April because of those minor adjustments that you make, right? But as far as like the archetypes themselves, it's still going to be good. Like Archaludon Rain is still going to be good, whether or not you go with the newer Trick Room version or not. right? Either way, it's still good as long as you have Pelipper on there. And then from, another type of archetype, what's not Raging Bolt? Roaring Moon, right? Lots of different ways you can use Roaring Moon. Okay, it just really depends on how you really want to utilize it. All right, but other than that, let me know what you think of the EUIC, the largest one ever, right? 1,000 players, just in terms of attendance wise. Okay, and if you think we missed something, let us know in the comments. If you're trying to build towards Orlando or just get a leg up in Regulation G, feel free to sign up for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one Discord call from me, and then we can build the team that you need with full EV spreads and whatnot. So this way you can get to practicing and get to testing, and then from there, see where you end up with the team. All right, but look in the video description for that link to join the channel, or look in the pinned comment section to, again, find the same link to join the channel. All right, and then from there, we'll talk. All right, we'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.